Good evening to you, the wonderful people of the tube. Hope you are today. Hope you're feeling grand as when you're welcome to another Q&A Wednesday. Get to question one. Okay, so question one today is: what is the difference between playing standing up or sitting down? I find sitting down to be more accurate. I can play standing, but I make mistakes this way. You seem to stand up all the time. What's the difference? It's a good question. I don't really know. Quiet now for a sec. Difference between standing up and sitting down. I suppose it's what you're kind of comfortable with, really. If you find you're kind of messing up more when you're standing up, then, you know, and if it's more comfortable to sit down, I would say sit down. But ideally, I'm kind of with the school of thought of you should be able to play either way. Really. That's my opinion. I saw an interview with Paul Gilbert as well, and he said the same thing. He said you always want to be kind of really stood up. I think you can relax more stood up when you're sat down with certain guitars. Like if it's a Les Paul and it's got like the top of the guitar is quite small, you kind of hunch over it and you kind of crunch up, and I don't feel you as relaxed as if you're standing up with a guitar on you and you kind of stood up straight and you can kind of move about and be a bit more kind of mobile, so to say. So I would say the difference really is just kind of what makes you feel more comfortable, but I would recommend to anybody to learn to play standing up. I think it's really important to be able to play stood up. I think it's I would say I don't want to say it's more important than being sat down, because I wouldn't say that, because there's guitarists like Robert Fripp who would never stand up, they would always sit down, and Robert Fripp's an absolute god of a guitarist. So, and there's a couple of other guitarists, obviously mainly classical kind of players who sit down. But for electric guitar, really, I'd recommend if you can stand up as much as possible. And if you make mistakes, I think that's the thing, getting used to it, because it is a totally different thing to being, you know, just stood up to sitting down. I don't like sitting down and playing guitar. I don't like it. Hence why I'm always stood up. It just feels. I don't hate it, but I just feel kind of crunched up. I don't feel very mobile. I like to be able to move, and you can't really do that when you sat down. I don't like that. So I would recommend being able to stand up and play, you know, is a better thing than sitting down. Well, I can't say that, I can't say better. But I don't know, it's quite a difficult question to answer, as you can assume by my stutterings here. But it's just whatever you're comfortable with, really. At the end of the day, that's kind of what it boils down to. It's whatever you're comfortable with. But I would recommend standing up and playing over sitting down and playing. I just think you get into the swing of it more, because you can move with the music, you can move backwards and forwards, you can get all sorts of different kind of feedback stuff by moving backwards and forwards to your amps and whatnot. So I don't think there's any real difference in the fact of like your posture more than anything, really. And obviously, you know, because if you stood up and, you know, you can have the guitar as high as it is when you sat down. You know, it makes no difference really. You can just adjust the strap to where it's comfortable for you. Obviously, if it's around your ankles or around your kneecaps, it's definitely not in the best optimal playing position for your wrist. But you know, I would just say just do whatever's comfortable for you. But I would highly recommend standing up as much as possible and playing. I really would, and moving with the music. Let it move you, kind of like, you know, backwards and forwards or left or right, whatever. You know, I just feel that's kind of like a better thing than just kind of sat in one place as like static, so to say. You also asked, how tall am I? I'm not very tall. I'm 5'8". I am very small, so I'm not a very tall person. I probably look a lot tall. I probably look quite tall next to that thing, but I think it's the camera of the angle. You always look taller on TV. Just thinking about what I just said then. Camera of the angle. Don't mean camera angle, Dave. Who knows? Anyway, question 2 now. Do you float your tremolo and your strats? And if so, how do you keep them in tune? And how do you fix fretting out on a 7.25 radius? I don't float tremolos. No, I hate floating tremolos. I can't stand them. on my white Strat, I had, I'm just going to turn this amp off, I'm getting interesting feedback from this guitar. Being totally hollow body and no block in the middle, it's feedback monster, but I love it nonetheless. But yeah, when I first got my white Strat, I floated the tremolo because I didn't know any different at that point. No one told me if you did the claw screws in the back, you get rid of that. I remember I did a gig with it floating, and I snapped my high E string. And if you snap a string on a floating tremolo, that's it. It's game over. You need to change guitar. And I didn't have a spare guitar, so I looked like an idiot trying to play wildly out of tune. Everything was wildly sharp. So yeah, it wasn't the best thing. And after that, I was like, I'm never having a floating tremolo again, and I never have to this day. I do every now and again float it for a brief period of time. I feel like if I'm recording and I want to get some kind of like Dave Gilmore-y kind of nice, like those kind of pulsy kind of things, or kind of Jeff Becky kind of things. But as soon as I'm done with it, the claw screws get screwed back in, and it goes flush back to the body. I like it so I can just dive bomb. I hate being able to come up. I don't like the idea of that. I don't get on with Floyd Roses or Kaylors at all. I like to just be able to dive bomb. I don't like the idea of being able to come up on a tremolo army. It doesn't sit well with me. I tells you. So that's that really. So, and also I'm kind of with you on the keeping it in tune. It's a bit of a pig because if you alter one string, the others alter. So you know, another reason I don't like synchronized tremolos. I don't like it at all. So flat to the body all the time for me. Also, how do you fix fretting out on a 725? Simply just have a high action. On a vintage style Strat, like on my 62 or my 62 reissue or any of those guitars I've got that have that kind of radius fretboard, I just tend to have a high action. I'm not a low action person anyway. I like to be able to play slide in standard tuning without having to change guitar to a specific guitar, and I like to be able to get under the strings. So I have fretting out issues every now and again, but that's normally when the frets are knackered. But the only way to really do it is just to have a high action. I don't know if there's any other way other than getting your fretboard re-radiused to be a flatter board. But the only cure for that, as far as what I know, is just to have a high action. And you know, if you don't like that, I would recommend maybe trying to get another neck with a flatter board. But on the 7.25, I would say, yeah, if you want to kind of not go, so it doesn't do that, I'll just say crank your strings up and have fun with that. It can be a bit of a strain to start with, but I would recommend that, yeah, just crank the strings high. Yeah, so I hope that's answered your questions. Moving on to question 3 now. Okay, so question 3 is, at your first gig, what was your first song you played and what is the guitar you used? Well, the first song I ever played at a gig, we were playing I kind of covered this a bit when I did the Where I Started video, but we played a gig in, I can't remember when it was, but what was it, May? Yeah, 6 months after I first started playing, 5 or 6 months, give or take. The first song, that was my first gig, and the first song I played was Buck Rogers by Feeder, and I was playing it wrong. I had no idea what I was doing. Like I said, I spoke about it in the Where I Started video. I did massive Art Marshall half stack. I was like, what do I do with that? Like, no idea what to do. But TSL Marshall with 3 channels and 1 million dials. Like, yeah, I'll just turn everything and see what happens. But that's the first song I played, was Buck Rogers. We only played that one song. And the guitar I used was my Washburn Maverick series, this one here, which is my first ever guitar, and, you know, will never leave me. I love it. So yeah, that was the first song, and that was what I played it on all those years ago. 2002, ladies and gentlemen, 2002 that was. Yes, hope that's answered your question. Yeah. Okie dokie, question 4 is, have you seen the Red Hot Chili Peppers live? Yes, I've seen them twice. One was at Hyde Park in 2004, and one was at Don Valley Stadium in Sheffield in 2006. I saw them at the end of By the Way tour, the really cool Hyde Park shows, and I saw them at the beginning of the Stadium Arcadium tour. And I spoke about it quite a lot. Of John was obviously playing with them at the time. It was just life altering, absolutely life altering to see them, especially at Hyde Park with. There was James Brown. There was a band on before James Brown. I don't know who they are. I didn't really like them, so I wasn't paying much attention. So, but then James Brown came on, and then obviously the Chili Peppers came on later on, and it was literally like one of the most amazing things in the world to see them come out and start, jamming and do that crazy thing. And at Don Valley as well. I remember Ben Harper was on before the Chili Peppers, and about 15 to 20 minutes before Ben Harper stopped, I saw the roadies wheel John's Marshall double stacks to the back of the stage. They just appeared. It was kind of like really weird. It's like, they weren't there 1 second and then they were there, and they were just pushing them into place for the Chili Peppers and getting obviously the amps warmed up. And I just remember seeing those Marshalls and thinking, good God. It's just insane. I remember seeing it at Hyde Park as well when they pushed them out at Hyde Park. I was like, Jesus. That's John's amps. I'm going to be hearing them soon. And it was a bit special, to say the least. And then, you could see Dave Lee sorting out his pedal board, ready to come on stage, and sorting his guitars. And I'll never forget John Frusciante walking out at Don Valley, and I'll never forget him walking out at Hyde Park either. And Don Valley, he was just like, he just came walking out. I don't remember for the life of me what guitar he had. I seem to think it was his white Strat, but I'm not 100% sure. But he just came out like wearing like a waistcoat, like jeans, and his white Strat, and he had long hair. And I was just thinking, that is the coolest man in the world. Like, how do I get to be like that? Anyway. They're the 2 times I saw the Chili Peppers. I wish I'd seen them more, but such is life. A lot of people ask me, will I see the Chili Peppers now? No, I wouldn't. I've seen footage of them, and they're not the band they were with John. I mean, you can kill me for saying that, but they're just not. Josh is good, but he's not John, and I don't think that's a problem. And again, I'm not trying to slag anybody off. I'm not trying to slag Josh off, but John was something else, and I don't think that'll ever be repeated. So to say, I don't think you can replace somebody like him. I don't think it's like trying to replace Jimi Hendrix. You just can't do it. So I wouldn't go and see them now, having seen them twice with John, especially at Hyde Park and Don Valley when he was literally peak of what John was, and it was just scary how good he is and how good he was to see and how much of a performer he was. But yeah, incredible. But yeah, hope that's answered your question. A bit long-winded answer, but to just say yes, I have. But there's no fun in just saying that. So yeah, hope that's answered your question. Moving on to question 5. Okay. So question 5 is, how do you replicate that clunk noise that John does when soloing? Right, okay, I'm going to turn my hand back on for this. Go on that channel. Run the volumes down. Yep. You spoke about kind of a wet sound. And, I don't know if I can do it on this guitar. Change guitar quick, Dave! Through the magic of editing, I now have a Stratocaster. So, I'm guessing you mean the bits where he's kind of like, you spoke about this before, he kind of bends up the high note. So, where are we? That bit before that high note, what you're doing is something that quite a lot of guitarists do. Gary Moore does it, but it's kind of a blues guitar thing, really. What it is you're hitting, if I go to clean, you're hitting all the open strings, and then you're bending a note, so missed the string. So basically you're just hitting open strings. So for wet sand, on that bit, so it's just whacking all the open strings. It's kind of like the guitar takes a breath, so to speak. it's basically, yeah, it is. It's just those open strings. You just hit all the open strings before you hit the note. You hear Gary Moore doing it a lot, like something like, say, like The Messiah Will Come Again. Like, you know, you really, it's a very aggressive way of playing this. But you're hitting all those open strings before you hit the note. Anyway, I hope that's answered your question. Let's be quiet on the old PB here. But yeah, it's just open strings and then go for the bend. It's just that kind of split second where you kind of need to hit those open strings. It's quite hard to kind of explain, but yeah, it's like that. I hope I answered your question. I hope that's not a massive in-depth kind of thing about, but hopefully you kind of get what I mean. And it's one of those feel things. You need to kind of like feel for when you need to do it. It's not something that kind of, excuse me, when you kind of count it in, so to say. It's a real feel thing when it kind of goes, it's like a singer taking a breath. And so your guitar takes a breath just before it hits like a real high note. So, you know, he's got those little gaps where you can get that clunk in. So yeah, that's what he's doing. He's also hitting all the open strings before he hits the really high notes. And I say quite a lot of people do it. I say Gary Moore does it tons. John does it a lot. It comes from the blues guys, really. Just kind of like, you know, just very aggressive, just digging into the guitar and just hitting it. You know, really just beating on the thing, really. So yeah, I hope that's answered your question. I hope that's kind of like, you know, a decent enough explanation of what he's doing there. So yeah, moving on to question 6 now. Last question of the day. I've got an itchy ear. That's quite annoying. So question 6, last question today is: do you think John Frusciante will ever perform live again, or should we just stop fooling ourselves? I would like to agree with all of us when we would say we'd love to see John return to live playing, either it be with a band or him going out doing acoustic solo shows or whatever. But I do feel that John, being the creative, difficult genius that he is, I don't know if he'll ever come back round to that again. He's a very contradicting person, John is. He'll say one thing one minute and then say another minute that totally goes against what he said here. So it's hard to take his word for something. When he says, "Oh, I'm never going to do live work again because, oh, you know, it's boring and you know, oh, people don't care and this, that and the other," and all that stuff he said, it's hard to take that as gospel, because earlier on in his career he said something totally different, and next week he could feel totally different to how he feels this week, and in 5 minutes John could feel totally different to how he feels now. John could be stood at his synthesizers right now and his guitar could be off to the right side, and he could be looking at the guitar going, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore, I want to go back to the guitar. You know, it's literally, I think that's the way his brain works. Now, I'm not 100% sure, I don't know the man, but from what I can kind of gather from how he contradicts himself and how his brain works, of how he flips between things here and there. I say from going from solos like, you know, solos like that to, you know, from one album to the other, it just shows how kind of like, you know, kind of, what's the word? It's kind of up and down John's brain is. Like, it's here one minute and then it's there another. So, you know, you never know. I mean, at this point in time, he could be playing his guitar thinking, I want to do another Empyrean. You know, you never know with John. It's one of those things. So, I don't think we're fooling ourselves into thinking that he might come back to playing live gigs again, especially acoustic and stuff like that. But I don't think you should sit there waiting for it, so to say. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't, kind of thing. I don't think we're fooling ourselves into thinking he might. John's difficult. He's a difficult human being. He's hard to get a grasp on as well, and it's kind of upsetting that he's not very communicative. That's not even a word. But he's not very kind of like, you know, he doesn't communicate with his fans a great deal. He's kind of like But again, I suppose that's the downfall of being a genius, like a musical genius, like he is. He's very kind of like, you know, set-minded, and you know, he just goes for what he wants to do at that point in time. And let's face it, he doesn't have to do anything. You know, he doesn't have to release music. He doesn't have to let us hear anything he does ever again. You know, he's done enough. So for him to still be releasing music, whether it be whatever, you know, is acid house music or whatever, you know, it is really, really cool of a man to actually still do it. But I just wish he would be a bit more responsive to fans. That'd be nice. I mean, you know, because after all, fans are what make you. Without fans, you are nothing. You're not even a number in the machine. You are nothing. So to kind of turn your back on your fans is just wrong. So I'm not saying John's kind of doing that. I'm just saying, like, you know, he does tend to be kind of like, you know, I'm doing this and I don't care about what anybody else wants, and that's cool. But I think if you have a strong fan base as John does, I think you have to give your loyal fans, something. You can't just be kind of like, I'm just going to do this for the sake of doing it. You know, to bring a weird example up, I know it's a bit weird, but, you know, you wouldn't go to a Bryan Adams concert and him not play Summer of '69. Yeah, you won't go to, you know, I'm trying to think of like real mainstream kind of, you won't go to Bon Jovi concerts and not hear Living on a Prayer. You know, you wouldn't do that kind of, you won't go to a Rolling Stones concert and not hear like Brown Sugar or something like that. One of those things that makes them what they are, you know, and every time you do that, you give back to the people who are there supporting you. So that is one thing I would like John to be, but he's not going to be. But it's one of the things that upsets me about him, is how he's not very communicative. That's not a word again, but I would like him to be a bit more kind of, you know, there, let's say. He's very reclusive, very difficult kind of man, and I can imagine he is because of the way he is. But it'd be nice if he just kind of like, you know, I don't want to force anybody into doing anything, but like I say, you know, without fans, you are nothing. Yeah, and that's kind of important. You should always respect the people who put you where you are, not turn your back on them just because you want to do something else. You know, always give them something. But anyway, I don't know. If he'll ever return to performing live, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm with you. I would like to think so at some point, whether it be acoustic or with a band, or rejoining the Chili Peppers for the third time. That'd be just ridiculous. But I don't know. Time will tell. We will see. But yeah, to write it off totally, I think would be silly. I don't think we're fooling ourselves. I think, you know, you got to hold out hope, because you never know with John. He could be at this very point in time thinking, I want to tour with a band and play my guitar again. You never know. You know, it's that's how John is. He's very, you know, he's funny. He's a funny man. As somebody once put it to me, he's mad as a box of frogs, and I can't think of any better kind of wording than that. He is literally as mad as a box of frogs. So yeah, anyway, I hope that's answered your question. A bit of a long-winded one again. I'm sorry, I don't do short answers. It'd be about 5 seconds long, this video, if it was, but yep, no, yep. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, Q&A Wednesday, and I'll see you again very soon for another video. Tomorrow, in fact. Haha, yes, I have a special video tomorrow, and I'll see you again on Friday. Busy week this week, so yeah, I'll see you again. Have a great morning, afternoon, good evening. Goodbye now.